I, 31, met my now fiancée at the clinic I work in. I'm a dentist, she works a lower paying job at the clinic. She's the sweetest, nicest, most beautiful woman I've ever met. She's smart, humble and has a beautiful smile. It was a love at first sight for me, and I was lucky that she felt the same way about me. I introduced her to my family after 8 months of dating. She wanted to wait because of her fear that my family wouldn't accept her. My sister became her best friend instantly. My mom admired her personality and became friends with her mom. But my dad and brother kept their distance and made some pretty hurtful comments about how incompatible my fiancé and I were and how I should keep it moving and look for someone with better background. They never said anything in front of her though. I ignored them completely and tried to protect my fiancé from their snide comments, but because mom and others wanted us to visit then we didn't have much choice. Last week we had our engagement party at the restaurant. I didn't want my dad or my brother there, but my mom told me to let my dad and brother come since my fiancé would notice I didn't invite them and ask questions about it. I decided to invite them after mom promised they remain civil and respectful. My family arrived together. My dad remained quiet then started talking with other guests, so things were going pretty well. When dinner arrived my brother sat with us at the table asking how much money I lost to make this dinner happen, then how much my fiancé contributed at all. My fiancé and I were talking about her engagement ring and my brother randomly started singing, "I ain't saying she a gold digger." My fiancé and her mom stared at him and he stopped. I gave him a look as a warning for him to knock it off. Then I got up from my seat to make a toast and my brother interrupted me loudly coughing prenup and everyone heard him and stared awkwardly. I was livid. I put my drink down and asked him to see me outside. I had an argument with him and told him to leave. He acted dumb about how he behaved and mom got involved. I demanded he leave and he did after calling me nuts and mom and dad said I shouldn't have kicked him out. Dad left shortly which made mom say I caused a scene and ruined my own dinner by kicking my brother out. My fiancé was hurt by that, but mom said my brother cried because I kicked him out and wants us to meet and talk. Am I the idiot? My brother is older than me, he's 37 and divorced. Not the idiot. How did you ruin the dinner when it was your brother who was being an idiot? You and your fiancé were the victims, not the problem. Unless your brother apologizes profusely I wouldn't invite him to the wedding since it sounds likely he would ruin that too. Not the idiot. You did well. Supported your fiancé against an undeserved attack, that's what it was. Your mother, father, and brother? Not so much. Your brother is horrid, your father not much better, and your mother is utterly clueless, crying. Yeah, right, and an enabler of their poor behavior. They may have money, but they lack class. A meeting with your brother is an absolute waste of time because he cannot be trusted. Your parents and brother need to give an apology to your fiancé, and it needs to be sincere to earn even a moment of your time, and even then I wouldn't trust it. How dare they disrespect your fiancé, that is crossing the line. I do believe your dad and brother must talk about their dislike for her a lot if he had the balls to embarrass you and her at your own party. He deserved to get kicked out, and you shouldn't feel bad about it at all, nor would I even worry about meeting up with him. Not the idiot. He cried. Good. He's acting like a child and thinks crying will get him everything he wants. He wants to call your fiancé a gold digger while ignoring the fact he's acting like a spoiled snobby little rich kid. To start, I got 8 other siblings, 9 of us in total. 2 of my brothers are biological and the rest are foster siblings, but we're all very close. To me they're my real family, so I don't really introduce them as anything other than my brothers and sisters. I'm getting married in a few months, and all my brothers are going to be my groomsmen. While sisters were asked by my fiancé to be her bridesmaids. My fiancé's sister Kate is someone we don't talk to much, but still her parents convinced her to let Kate be part of it. Recently our families met up for a BBQ at our place, and this is the first time her family meets mine. Well, except her parents, since they couldn't make it. I introduced my siblings to everyone. At some point when we were talking to her sister she says, "Your parents seriously had 9 kids?" She said it with so much disgust. She seemed really mad about it. I told her yes, and Kate goes about how she thinks my parents were selfish and reckless for never figuring out how to use a condom, and don't they know how stupid they are for having so many kids when there's already overpopulation. Part of me found it funny, but also very annoyed for thinking that something she even thought was okay to say about people she just met. So, I told her they were foster parents, and only two of my brothers are biologically related, not that it's any of her business to critique other people's lives. She looked embarrassed and apologized, but then she got mad. Kate says, well, that's something I could have mentioned so to avoid her saying the wrong thing. And I told her, how about next time she just doesn't say anything at all and avoid looking like an idiot. My fiancé laughed a little, but Kate got mad. She walked off and made a comment to my fiancé's other sister and cousin about what I said. They know the context but still think I was an idiot because Kate was just bringing awareness to what she thought was something bad and it wasn't necessary to call her names. She doesn't want to talk to me now, and while that doesn't bother me at all, I do wonder, was I an idiot at all for doing that? Not the idiot. She should be thankful she just looks like an idiot for her views rather than seriously offending people because she doesn't agree with the idea of a couple having multiple biological children. Not her life to judge. If she didn't have anything nice to say, she shouldn't have said anything at all. Seriously, what was her endgame in bringing something like that up? She insulted your family to your face and then got sad that you said something back to her in response. You were far more polite than I would have been in your shoes. If she doesn't want people saying mean things to her, maybe she shouldn't walk up to people and talk shit about their families. You were very much in line here. She did look like an idiot, but that's on her. It isn't anyone's business as to whether your siblings are blood related or not. It's not her job to police how many children people have, regardless. Since overpopulation is a problem, I trust we can expect Kate to remain childless for her entire life. I mean, since she feels so strongly, I expect her to really pitch in and do her part. My 17 older brother, 32, has a kid, 3, and he is treated as the pride and joy of our family because due to some infertility issues they took 6 years of trying without success. Now that my nephew is here, his parents let him do anything he wants to anybody expenses. My mother had to remove every decoration she had around the house because my nephew used to play with it and wouldn't understand a no. Every little piece she had around the house holds sentimental value and she had to put it away in order to keep letting my nephew be here because my brother refused to teach him some manners. I couldn't do my homework in the kitchen because my nephew would come and try to take my things because he wanted to play with them, and even when my brother and his wife hated it, I started to no let him do it, moving him aside or just fight with my brother until he came and took his child. During one of those things my nephew broke my computer and I made my brother pay for a new one because I refused to let my dad do it since he wasn't at fault. My brother tried to lecture me about not letting my lap there because I knew how his kid was and I told him to not mess with me and to raise my nephew better or he will be paying for things more expensive than that. My nephew also comes into my room anytime he wants, and I hate when he does that. When he was younger and I had to go to class, I would always tell my brother that my nephew wasn't allowed to come to my room, ever. But he would open the door for him and let him wander around just because he could. Now I'm always telling my nephew to get out and I usually close the door, but he cries and screams all the time. I had enough, so I told my brother to stop expecting me to accommodate his child. If I let my switch, my lap or any of my things around the house, I expect them to be where I left them because this is my house. I should be comfortable in my own house knowing that my stuff won't get damaged, and if my nephew does something to them, he has to pay it, always. And that he was a shitty father for refusing to raise him well. If this child is the pride and joy of the family, then his parents should raise him to be that. It takes work. It sounds like his parents are lazy. They call it spoiled for a reason. Because you ruin the child for his future success. If you don't give a child consistent consequences for bad behavior, they will never learn any self-discipline, and that is disastrous. I realize you can't slap their hands anymore, but that is what we used to do when children touched things they weren't supposed to. It worked. Now it's more work. You have to physically move them away, give them something else they are allowed to have, give them time out and reward them for good behavior. Okay, so you can't put a lock on the door to your room. How about buying a footlocker or locking storage bin and keeping your most important or breakable stuff in there when you aren't using your stuff? If you search footlocker on Amazon, it comes up with multiple styles and they aren't that expensive. This child is breaking your things and invading your personal space. Your room is your room. You deserve to have your space and your things respected in your own home. Who cares if he's 3? Tell him no. He needs to learn boundaries at some point, and this is a good age to start. You shouldn't have to put your stuff up because the parents are too lazy to discipline their child and tell him no. Me, 19, and my brother, 32, became orphans 10 years ago due to an accident our parents were in. My parents had always been a bit paranoid when it came to their mortality, so they had a set plan in case they passed. They left a significant amount of money for each of us, and our childhood home was meant to be mine. They specified that we would have access to our share of the will when we turn 18. Since my brother was already old enough, he took his money and cut all contact with me. I had lived with my grandparents ever since, but last year I finally got my share. I decided to move into the house and use the money to pay for my studies. I am in first year of medicine and it is very expensive. I have estimated that when I finish medicine in 5 years, I will have a lot of money left to continue with what I want to specialize in and have some left. My grandparents know my plan and offered to help with my living expenses, so my inheritance becomes exclusive for my studies until I finish. I accepted and we have been like this for a year. Now to the issue, my brother and his wife have 3 children from ages 9, 7, and 4. My brother spent his inheritance money on a house, his wedding, cars, and expensive stuff that one doesn't really need to live. My sister-in-law is a stay-at-home mom, so he was the breadwinner. My brother recently lost his job, so now their family is struggling and they need a place to stay. He contacted me and asked for us to meet up. When I arrived, he and his wife were already sat down on the restaurant. Long story short, they said that since they were going through hard times, they expected me to hand them over my house and give them a share of my inheritance so they can get back on their feet. I got pissed off since we have barely talked or visited each other since the accident and they were just demanding me to pay for them. I told them that I wouldn't because I already have a plan for the money and I was living on the house. They said I can move back with my grandparents and blew off at me for being selfish. After arguing I decided to leave, but now my cousins are saying I'm an inconsiderate idiot and I should help family out. I really need to know if I'm in the wrong, so am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Girl, you shouldn't even be here. He cut contact with you and now expects your help. No way. I am begging you to not hand over a cent. He sounds like the type to be given a step and then suddenly take a mile. You owe him nothing. His family is not your responsibility in the slightest. Do not allow him to guilt you. Biologically you're related, but they're not family, and your brother made that decision a long time ago. People love burning bridges not realizing they'll regret it. Tell him to figure it out. He's basically a stranger and an entitled one at best. Maybe he should spend more time finding a job or should have married a wife that had 1 or not had 3 kids or blown his inheritance on depreciating assets. None of that is your problem. Not the idiot. Your brother has been an independent adult for a very long time. He's established himself. He's independently taken responsibility for a wife and children. Now he's discovered that he's unprepared for living in difficult times. Why is this anyone else's problem? The inheritance was decided by your parents and everyone received their due. Now he believes that your portion of the inheritance is available to him because he can't manage his life. In my opinion, he isn't due anything. I am 25, my brother is 22. He lives with me since he moved out of our parents' house. Reasons are irrelevant. I came home to find him with his buddies in my home, getting wasted. I was pissed because he never asked if he could have people over. I'm an adult OP, I can do what I want. Apparently, he and his friends were throwing a bullet-dodged party. He had been seeing this girl for a bit. She texted him letting him know that she was pregnant but planning to abort the baby. She asked if he could financially help her pay for the operation. He blocked her. I was horrified. Apparently, he and his brilliant friends decided that she had lied about taking birth control because it's impossible for women to get pregnant if they're on the pill. Right. I was livid. I was completely disgusted, not only by their ignorance towards birth control, but by the fact that he would block a girl and leave her completely on her own to handle a problem that he was at least 50% responsible for. I told him, in these exact words, pack your clothes and get the hell out. Obviously more than this has happened in the past, but this was my breaking point. I had tried so hard to bend over backwards for my baby brother. House him when he was homeless, help him get a job, give him rides, only for him to turn out like that. Nope. So anyways, he and his friends stood there like they didn't think I was serious. I said again, all of you get the hell out. I don't want to see any of you here again. Here's where I'm possibly the idiot. I told him in no uncertain terms that he needed to collect his things and leave. If he was old enough to make big boy decisions, he was old enough to find a place on his own. He straight up said no. So I lost my temper. I grabbed as much of his stuff as I could, crammed it into a suitcase, and threw the suitcase outside. I shouted that, if he didn't leave I would call the police. Fast forward tears and begging, he was finally out. That night I got several messages that I was heartless for making him homeless. The pregnancy wasn't his fault because 1. It was an accident. 2. They weren't a serious couple so he has no reason to help her. 3. She should have been more careful. I called bull and said I would never allow someone with that sick mindset to live under my roof. I said that he is not my brother and I don't want anything to do with him. My parents, my aunts and some cousins are with me, but that leaves about 75% of the family against me. They think that I should support him because he is my brother. I should have given him time. He's not on the lease by the way, and he was supposed to parent but often didn't, and the punishment just didn't fit the crime. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He left this girl to figure out shit on her own, so that's what he gets. He was living the good life with you to take care of him. Let him suffer and spend some time in a homeless shelter. Maybe he'll get a job and get his life together. This is his wake-up call to life. You can't be the scum of the earth and expect people not to call you out on it. Your family can't yell at you about family and bullshit like that while ignoring what he did to this girl and her life. As a male, he's already safer in a homeless shelter than a woman, especially a pregnant or young one. Yes, it will suck for him, but guess what? He gets to learn to deal with shit on his own just like she'll have to. This girl wasn't trying to hurt your brother. She was on the pill, mistakes happen, and she fell in that 1% of girls that get pregnant on the pill. Furthermore, she was being responsible in that she decided to abort rather than hold your immature brother responsible, and all she was asking was for him to pay half. $300 for a single procedure versus 20 years of child support. Your brother could have just freaking paid it and gave her the modicum of respect anyone would for another human being. Instead, he cut her out of his life and threw a party over it. Not the idiot at all. You did the right thing and I hope he got the message loud and clear and learned a lesson about personal responsibility, but I find this unlikely. Not only is it disgusting that he'd leave her high and dry to deal with their mistake, but it's appalling that he and his buddies had a bullet-dodged party. Hopefully, it was a great party since it cost him his safety net. If the 75% of your family giving you shit thinks that your brother needs to be babied and housed, they should open their homes to him or shut it.